And good evening. This is the Tech Travel Geeks podcast for the week of the 15th of October 2018. I'm your host, Chief Mobile Opinionist, Matteo, and I'm joined as host by Lukash. Hello, Lukash. How are you?
Hi, Matteo. I'm great. How are you today?
Good, thanks. Have you recovered from the wedding you were at yesterday?
Yeah, all good. All good. That was good fun.
Good. We'll hear about your phone stories and maybe your shopping choices regarding smartphones soon. But first, we should introduce our guest. Please welcome, for the first time to the Tech Travel Geeks podcast, in our 10th episode, Chris Hare of...
Movies, games, and tech.
Thank you for filling in. I was just making sure I got the movies, games, and techs in the right order before saying them. So, Chris, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
All right. We've caught up quite a lot frequently at events in London, haven't we?
Yeah, this month's been a bit hectic, as you know.
Yes,
it's not finished yet.
No, there's more to come. I'm going to refrain from attending any events from here out until November. I'm too busy at the moment. I have other things to focus on. But it was good catching up with you, and we invited you on the podcast to discuss you and your travel, to tell our users a bit more about you. So let's start off with Chris Hare. Who is Chris Hare?
I'm mildly techno, I don't know what you want to call it, passionate with tech. Let's just say that. Not technophobia, wrong wording, but you know what I mean. Been traveling, well, I don't really travel that far because I've got a disabled wife. So I can only really go to events sort of London based. But as you probably know, I travel a lot to London quite recently. And this year, probably a lot this year.
And
like
just
3 times a month.
So just to give our listeners a bit of context, where do you live?
I live in Kent, so it's only about an hour or so from London, but the trains are not the most best. But we won't go into that. We won't go into anything political.
No, but we will say that you travel by rail to London from Kent, which is over an hour away, for many events. And what's your preferred station arriving in London?
Victoria, easy to get to, but maybe change into St Pancras soon because we've got a new railway system end of the year faster, so I'm getting it London even quicker. So
very good.
Perfect.
So you're mainly a rail traveller. You travel for tech events mainly in London, and you do it very, very frequently. That's great to hear. And you mentioned your wife has accessibility issues.
Yes.
What sort of accessibility issues are those? And
walking, her hands are not the most best in the world. She's got CP, but she's not as bad as some people who have CP with cerebral palsy. In case anybody want to know, it's in some cases it can cause her to drop devices if they're like too slippery. So she has her phones that are more rugged. At the moment, she's actually using an on a 10. She loves that, by the way, because it's small but powerful. She knows she's not going to run out of power. We won't go into about power problems, will we? You find that story later on. No, I thought get a little tease. Come on, get a little tease. Got a little tease in that.
Yeah, we'll tease Lukash and find out about that more often later. So obviously, this accessibility issue, both with in terms of tech and travel, affects her. Obviously, that makes you an advocate for certain services and products being improved in that space, which is great to hear. It's something that we maybe as tech bloggers, tech opinionists, we don't call the tech companies out enough for, but maybe it's something we should be doing more in the future. Not only in terms of actual device usage, but in terms of travel. So accessing trains, planes, automobiles, and whatever other form of transport people use. And obviously at Tech Travel Geeks, it isn't the first time we've discussed this on the podcast. We do think that technology itself, such as smartphones, can make the end user's experience better. It can help fill in some gaps where other accessibility needs haven't been filled in.
Very, very true.
So your wife's using an Honor 10, which I'm still using. It's a great device. And you're talking about yourself. You travel in and out of London frequently.
Yeah.
What's your background? How did you start writing for mobile games and tech? Sorry.
Let
me get
mobile games and tech. Yeah, get it right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Movies,
games, and tech.
The tech, yeah. I started many years ago writing, probably about 6 years, 7 years for this site. I've written in the past my own little blog, but I gave that up. I just lost passion with at the time. There wasn't much in tech wise. But before that, I actually was quite famous, but for a different reason that nobody knew at the time. About 7, 8 years ago, I'm trying to remember who it was. There was a load of like Hotmail leaks came out with people's passwords, etc. I put upon literally about 25,000 people's email addresses, passwords. I emailed Microsoft, did nothing about it.
Oh dear.
Told one person who now works for The Verge, Tom Warren, something got done. So that's how I became famous, but not. I was anonymous at the time, but that's because I've got a young family.
That's very good. So did you stumble upon that doing any engineering work, or is it purely the right forum, the right place?
Accidentally, I typed the wrong thing by mistake, and I came out and found it. So if one person found it, how many other ones are out there?
Yes.
So
that's never a good thing. So you shot to fame anonymously through finding a Hotmail leak. And was that due to Microsoft, or was there some third party involved?
Phishing by looks of it. Most of them were French/Russian email addresses by looks of it was.
Okay, so that's
it did work.
What are the chances of those Hotmail accounts being tied to recent election opinions on Facebook?
If people don't chase their email addresses and passwords, you never know.
Who knows?
That's the problem.
Well, I'm sure we'll find out during the next election rigging investigation that will be paraded through the media.
Yeah.
An optimist as always.
Yes, I'm always the pessimist here. Lukasz keeps me grounded. We're one episode away from turning this into a conspiracy podcast.
The X-Files, Tech X-Files factor.
Yeah, it's either going to be a conspiracy podcast or a philosophy one. I think we should keep to travel and tech for now, but we'll look at the metrics at the end of 2018.
Yep, sounds good.
Yeah.
So, Chris, tell us about you. What do you use on that train journey from Kent to London? What's the tech you prefer using?
Wireless earbuds. As long as they keep me going for the day, I don't mind what they are. As long as they keep me going for the day. What am I reviewing for the time? So I can do reviewing at the same time I'm traveling. So 2 in 1 go. My devices, I was using the Honor 10 until the new device that we talk about in a bit that you was at this week. Most of the time, it's just a small laptop which I'm using now. Pen and paper, really high tech. And because as you know, sometimes you go to events, you've got no signal, you can't publish anything. So how are you going to take notes down quickly? Sometimes it's quicker to just write them down. So the old tech is pen and paper and battery packs, a lot of them.
Good. So that's great. So you've got the full thing. And what sort of bag do you carry? Is it a backpack? Is it a messenger bag?
Sometimes it's a messenger bag, most of the time. But this week when we was at the London event, I took the backpack. Definitely did that for long day.
Yes, it was a very long day.
What's the time I got home? Because I've got stuck in trains.
What time did you get home at?
12:30. Because the problems with the trains in London at the time.
Ouch, that's inconvenient. To give people a bit of context, Chris and I were at the Huawei Mate 20 series launch event in London this week, and we started at 10/11 a.m. with brunch in London, and Chris made it home finally at midnight, while I was lucky enough to be staying in London, which meant that I could make it back to the hotel by 10:30 and prepare myself for a podcast, which I was a guest on. In case you missed it, I was a guest on All About Android this week, talking about the Google Pixel 3, Google's apps issue, where they now have to charge device manufacturers for bundling their apps, and the Huawei Mate 20 Pro, which we'll discuss a bit more in depth with Chris in a few minutes. First, though, I would like to know from Lukasz how his experience was with going through the battery anxiety barrier at an event yesterday. Lukasz, tell us more.
Yeah, so yesterday it was the wedding day of my good friend from work, and I was prepared. I filled my battery back to 100% just around 2 p.m. I charged my battery bank, 10,000 milliampere battery, and I was wearing a kilt, as you know, but some of our viewers and listeners might not. I'm originally Polish, but I've lived in Scotland for almost 11 years. So after year 10, I decided I need a kilt, and I got one last year. It's a Polish tartan, so it's white and red for the Polish flag, and blue for Scotland. And one of the parts of the kilt is the sporan, which is a man purse, I would say. So I put a battery power bank into it, and I needed a small cable. So I took the first one that came to my hand, and I was happy. So I got in around 15% at the end of the wedding reception, and I decided to recharge it. And it turned out that the cable was a micro USB rather than a USB-C. So my Samsung Galaxy S9 Plus, which theoretically has a good battery, decided to die. I switched to super saving mode, all black and white, and no reception. And I needed an Uber with 2%, didn't manage, died. So I had to speak to my friend to order me an Uber, which was not ideal. But Matteo and I have been discussing me getting a second phone, which happens to have wireless reverse charging, which means that you can charge a different phone by just pressing a button. So wirelessly, if I had those two phones in my Sporan, rather than a big battery and a useless cable, I would have survived. So that was my battery anxiety last night.
Indeed. So that's a very interesting use case. Obviously, to make it clear to our users, you're using a Samsung Galaxy S9 Plus, Samsung's current flagship before the Note 9 series. And how's battery life been on that device since you got it?
Well, Samsung have, unless you have the Note, which have slightly bigger batteries, I believe. The S9, S9 Plus are middle of the road somewhere. It's okay, but it usually is not the best. So I suffer battery anxiety and recharge middle of halfway through the day usually.
Yeah, so it's something that people haven't been shouting out about is battery life on the Samsung Galaxy S9 Plus. Unlike on Huawei's last flagship, the direct competitor to it, the Huawei P20 Pro, I personally have been very impressed by the battery life on the Huawei P20 Pro. Chris, did you have a review device, or did you get a Huawei P20 Pro?
I had a review unit, but only for like a 2-week period. So I wasn't lucky enough to go to the event.
Right. So you had one, and okay, that's fine. I can quite comfortably say, having been using one for over 6 months now, I'm very, very happy with the battery life on the Huawei P20 Pro, and often use that more than my Pixel 2 XL, specifically for the battery life. It's a 4,000 milliamp hour battery with an efficient Kirin 970 chipset. I don't have the Facebook app installed in it. I only use Facebook through a web browser. So I have a good battery experience of the Huawei P20 Pro. Though this week that has been surpassed by another device, which was launched in London, the Huawei Mate 20 Pro. Chris and I were at the event in London. Lukash was remote supporting me for Tech Travel Geeks. We got our unboxing live within hours of the actual announcement, which was impressive. And you can see that video on Tech Travel Geeks YouTube channel. It's actually our latest video at the moment, until after this podcast. But that's Huawei Mate 20 Pro unboxing is on our YouTube channel. It gives us a bit of an insight into how it looks and how it feels. And Chris, what do you think about the looks and feels of the Mate 20 Pro?
Very, very nice. It's not heavy. You think it's got like the 4,200 milliamp battery. It's going to be like not trying to say like it's going to be more heavy than it is, like a brick, but it's not. It actually feels lighter than the P20 Pro, if that makes sense. Some ways, I think it's got the curved display. It helps easier to hold in your hand, so it feels lighter.
Yeah, it's so essentially what some people have said is this Huawei Mate 20 Pro looks and feels like Apple and Samsung had a love child, and the Huawei Mate 20 Pro came out. So it looks like a Samsung Galaxy S9 Plus with a notch, and it is lovely. I obviously have the Twilight version, which is which is a lovely gradient, which goes from uh, purple to green and every shade in between. Depending on the light conditions, it will change and look different colors. It is a lovely, lovely device, but it's very slim. It's because of the curved screen and the curved back, it ends up feeling as if it's a much slimmer and lighter phone than it is. And it is a thing of beauty as far as industrial design and phone design goes. Um, Obviously, battery life so far, I've been really impressed by the battery life on it. I was using it whilst traveling back from London. I haven't installed my music and audiobooks apps on it yet, but I will do. Uh, there are a few very novel things in this. Let's start from the inside and go inside out. The Huawei Mate 20 Pro is running the latest Huawei chipset, the Huawei Kirin or high silicon Kirin 980, which is a 7 nanometer chip. It has a dual NPU as well as 8 cores, 8 active cores. And that means that it's much more power efficient. It uses less power to fire each transistor when needed. And it's a very, very smooth and impressive device. It's one of the very first devices to be running Android 9, Android Pie out of the box. It has MUI 9, which is the new Android distribution from Huawei. And as well as that, they've taken it a step further with the cameras, improving the camera's performance further. The benefit to travelers is you are really in the condition where you can replace your point and shoot camera and maybe even some DSLR features with this device, because it has a 40 megapixel camera paired with a 20 megapixel camera and an extra 8 megapixel camera. And this time, rather than having a monochrome sensor, they have a wide angle sensor, which is truly impressive, which allow the combination of these three cameras allows you to have a wide angle lens, which is the equivalent of 0.6 optical zoom, single optical zoom, so standard, 3 times optical zoom, and 5 times lossless digital zoom, which is quite impressive in of itself. So camera-wise, very, very capable device. In terms of the screen, we mentioned the notch earlier. It does have a notch with an advanced face unlock feature, but also has an in-screen fingerprint reader, which means there's no dedicated fingerprint reader. There's an area of the screen which you tap with your finger and it unlocks the device. So lovely, lovely device, very powerful one. And this is expected to be one of the top sellers over Christmas this year. I think Huawei have also picked perfect timing with the not yet launched iPhone XR. That's the less expensive device. And it places itself quite comfortably just above that and in between the iPhone XR and XS. So I have a feeling that, especially at retail in physical stores, people are going to walk in, see the iPhone, and then see this and walk out with an iPhone. This is especially the battery life. What we mentioned, the 4,200 milliamp hour battery, is going to be a big selling point once more and more people shout out about how good their battery life experience is.
Yeah, Matteo, you and I met a very nice salesperson at a big retail shop in Edinburgh, and we started discussing phones, and that's exactly what he said. When he, having used the P20 Pro and knowing what the Mate 20 Pro will be like, he said, whenever people come requesting an iPhone XS or whatever, he will say, you don't really want this. This is not the best phone you can get. Get the Huawei P20, Mate 20. You'll be much, much happier. And many people listen to his advice and actually come out with a Huawei device. You're on mute, Matteo.
You're muted.
This was Lukash and I doing a bit of legwork, doing a bit of grassroots reporting on what's happening in mobile, because mobile is becoming more and more important for travelers. Some airlines or train companies are now starting to push their users more and more to the use of smartphone apps, or just downloading their boarding passes or train tickets onto the phone itself. So having that good battery life, having a good screen, having a good mobile experience overall is going to be beneficial to your travel. Also, having always on OLED screens is also an advantage. Though it's not the most important thing, but it will be an advantage in terms of battery life. So you'll be able to have an always on QR code on your screen for your ticketing or for your boarding pass. And it's an interesting thing to look into. We think at Tech Travel Geeks, we think mobile is going to make this easier. Let's just prove this. Chris, when you travel, do you have a physical paper ticket? Do you print one out, or do you use your smartphone?
Well, that's easy. Save the planet. Don't print it out. I don't use my printer, so that leaves my phone. It's always QR codes. Most events that I go to are always QR code, so I always carry my phone with me. So
that's very good. And just on that note, I'd like to point out where was it? On Twitter, our friend Basil had a very good point. This, I think it was actually today. Let me double check.
Yeah, he did.
That there is an environmental thing to this. So having more smartphones with better battery lives, better battery performance, there's an eco argument for it. So bigger batteries means less charging in a lifetime, which also means there's less battery degradation and longer lifespan in a year, which means there's less need to upgrade. So you won't need to upgrade or replace your batteries as often because there'll be less wear and tear on your battery, which is a very, very good tweet. I retweeted that. It's a very good point. That's Basil Knows on Twitter. That's Basil from Tech Radar in the UK. So thanks for that insight, Basil. Very good point. We endorse it. Get the word out there.
Yeah, he's very, very, very good person. He's.
Yeah, we all like Basil. So
yeah.
Right. So we've discussed the Mate 20 Pro. I think there will be more coming on Tech Travel Geeks, both on our YouTube channel and on our site. You can subscribe to Tech Travel Geeks on YouTube. If you haven't already, please do. And moving on, what else was announced at the Huawei Mate 20 series event, Chris? What stood out to you?
All right, you got the Huawei Watch GT. They announced. They announced the wireless adapter, whatever you call it, the 15-watt adapter, which is the fastest Android adapter so far. So you can, because obviously the normal Mate 20 Pro comes with a 40-watt adapter, so fast charger. So you can charge 0 to 70% in 30 minutes. So if you do forget that in the morning, oh dear, I forgot to charge my phone up last night. Bung it on charge, have a breakfast, go out the door, and you don't have to worry for the day.
Yeah. Fast charging. That's 40-watt charging on the Huawei Mate 20 Pro. So if you are in an airport or a train station, you need a quick charge. That's a great way to make your battery anxiety go away. What else was launched in terms of devices?
They announced the Huawei Band 3. They didn't really speak much about that, really. It was like about €99. Didn't really cover much of it. And obviously they did the very nice phone, but very expensive, the Porsche design RS.
Yes. And tell us more about
that. Very expensive.
Yes. So the Porsche design Huawei Mate RS, Mate 20 RS, is a device developed in collaboration with Porsche Design, which is a German design company, an offshoot of Porsche, the car company, which is made to bring the Porsche design philosophy to everyday products. You can find Porsche design hard drives from a company called Lacey. You can find other expensively Porsche design branded devices, but the one in the mobile industry know best is the Porsche design Huawei Mate series, which has been ongoing for a while. And this year, it's essentially a Huawei Mate 20 Pro with leather and glass back and different color sets. So it only comes in black and red, but there are by default the larger storage configurations. So it's an impressive smartphone. You are paying for the look and feel of it and to be able to show off that you have the brand. That starts, I believe, at €1,400 and goes up to €2,000 per device, which is very, very expensive. Shout out to our friend Miriam, our first guest on the Tech Travel Geeks podcast, because she posted on Instagram and Twitter her experience unboxing the Huawei Mate 20 RS. And obviously, you are paying a bit extra for the design, the branding, the overall packaging experience, but there are 2 chargers in the package. This seems to be ideal for travelers because it's a UK plug and a EU plug. So it's good for travelers in that sense, and it also has a few extras in the box. So very expensively pleasant product experience by the looks of it. I don't know. I haven't been able to play around with one apart from the one at the display in London. Lucas,
Yeah,
you're saying?
Yeah, and if you don't follow Miriam yet on Instagram, she also visited the Porsche center where she had the experience of driving a brand new GT3 or something another. So yeah, quite an experience, I believe. So
yes. So if you don't already follow Miriam on Twitter, I'd say follow her. Tank Girl, that's TNKGRL. Good friend of Tech Travel Geeks, and everyone who's passionate about mobile technology is always interested in hearing her opinion on the latest developments in the market.
Yeah, she was very, very busy. So I did see her a few times running around the place.
Yes.
You know what she's like.
I was briefly providing her with what we define as the lowest tier or the lowest level of the Maslow hierarchy of needs, which is power and internet. I had my power bank, and she was tethering to my phone for a while. So
yeah,
there we go.
yeah.
I did assist with some of the Mate 20 Pro coverage, or at least so I think. So I like to think. Shout out to Miriam, uh, great person to follow for the latest mobile changes in the market, but also more importantly, her travels. She travels a lot, even
Everywhere.
more than we do.
Yeah.
Chris, any insights into the watch? Because as I'm considering getting the phone, I am likely to get the watch, but I was thinking of the Galaxy Watch as well. Any thoughts about that?
If you're thinking about getting the phone, as you've had problems with your phone, I'll do it soon because you've got the special pre-order. So you get the watch for free, and you get the wireless adapter charger adapters, whatever you want to call it. Because you're saving was it about 200 quid for the phone? Sorry, the watch, and about 50, 75 pounds. Well, euros. It was for 75 euros for that. So obviously you're saving like 160 pounds. I think it works over here. So if you're going to do it now. I think it comes out on the 26th of this month, so this next week.
Yeah, I've not used a watch in the last 10 years, but I've been curious to find out how the smartwatches work, either the Samsung one or the Huawei.
This one's got a very, very good battery life. If you turn off like the fitness stuff, or if you're going to use it, I'm not going to use fitness for the day, turn it off. You can go on for like 22 days without even charging it even longer. It depends, obviously, notifications, etc. But I think it's 454 milliamp hour battery in it. So it doesn't sound much, but for a watch for that size, it's very, 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 very good. Even
Yeah.
if you put everything on, it lasts you a whole day, 22 hours. To put GPS on, blood pressure, what you want to do, heart rate.
Heart rate, yeah.
Yeah.
Exciting.
And as I said today, my experience with it, a brief experience, was very positive. It was, as far as it looks chunky on the website and the images, in real life it's not as chunky. It's quite a slim smartwatch. For them to have fit everything in there is interesting. There's also a departure from Huawei's past in smartwatches, in that the Huawei Watch GT does not run Android or Wear, or what is now called Wear OS. It's Huawei's homegrown operating system. Obviously, Wear OS wasn't good enough for them. They decided to go their own route. It will be interesting to see how that works out in the market, both with app compatibility and services. Also, I personally still use a smartwatch. It's very handy when navigating, such as when I was in London this week. Getting from A to B in a city you don't know perfectly well, having Google Maps navigation and turn by turn navigation is very, very useful. And not having to have your phone out all the time, or maybe focusing on your Pokemon Go whilst walking, makes that little notification on your wrist and indication of which way to turn very, very useful. So I still do use smartwatches, but not as much as I used to, just because there's no real need for it ultimately.
No.
So, Chris, have you used previous Huawei watches?
The quick answer, no. But I have seen them or have used them for, I don't know, half hour at a place event I've been to in the past, but not reviewing wise. But these are a lot smaller, a lot smaller, a lot lighter than other previous watches they've done before.
Yes,
it's about time.
It is noticeably slimmer, lighter, and slightly smaller, which is maybe a good thing for the product. So, Lukash, you have until later this week to pre-order.
No pressure.
It is an expensive decision, but overall, the device is excellent, and you can either turn your Samsung Galaxy S9 Plus into a backup device, or just use it as the Mate 20 Pro is a very expensive power bank.
Yeah, I'm considering this very strongly now. So you'll find out in the next episode of the Tech Travel Geeks podcast, most likely.
And you won't believe what happens next. Coming up on episode 11 of the Tech Travel Geeks podcast, we find out what Lukash's consumer decision-making process was like. But before then, let's move on to another thing. Chris, we've touched briefly on what's in your bag. Tell us what's on your wish list for tech in the next, let's before Christmas, which is a shopping period in the UK, a gift-giving period. What's on your wish list?
Oh, a nice Surface Book, but no chance. Well, unless someone falls out the chimney, but never know. Tech Christmas, so Tech Santa, let's call it that. A good, really good fast charging power bank, because the ones I've got at the moment are the old slow charges, slow type. So a nice good one for that.
Good, and that should make your train journeys from Kent to London easier.
Yeah.
Very good.
It goes slowly, charges.
Yeah. So you mentioned power banks, and we talked about devices and travel earlier. Do you use a case on your devices?
Yes, I do.
Very good. And what's your preferred material on the cases?
Yeah, I know this one. Most of mine, I just use a clear case because I like showing off the colours.
That's a very good point, and
it's not a Macadile.
No, it's not Macadile. So that's what I've ended up doing for now with the Huawei Mate 20 Pro. It's just that twilight color is so nice. I have a transparent case, but I have already been in touch with my Macadile suppliers in China, and we're hoping to have something similar to this, a nice Macadile case turning up in the post soon. So
a twilight color.
That would be awesome. I doubt that's easy to make, but we'll give them the challenge.
Well, you asked me what you wanted for Christmas, so I thought I'd do that one. So
okay, good.
So, man, back to you.
So, what would I like for Christmas? Yes, fast charge power bank. I think that's on most people's lists nowadays. The other one would be an ideally fitting Macadile case, like the one I have for my Huawei P20 Pro. It's real leather made to look like Macadile, but then it's proper rubber rounding, and it's a slim case. It's not too thick. So this would be the ideal thing. If I could have one for my Huawei Mate 20 Pro in time for Christmas, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, I'm going to ask something. What color would Lucas like? If you have got one.
If you I do love the Twilight one. What are the other ones? There's the black, and there's another one.
Yeah, I've got the black. There's the emerald green, which has got the texture at the back, like off a vinyl record. Same as the blue, that has it as well.
And then there's a gold.
Yeah, but that's not available in the UK. It's pink gold. That's true.
Yes, pink gold.
Yeah, not rose gold, but pink gold.
I'm good. I'll skip this one. Twilight is my most likely choice. However, if we sit too close together with Matteo at work, we might. Oh no, I will not have a Macadile case. So
yeah, so we'll be able to differentiate them.
Yeah. Don't get confused. You must have your name written on the back of it.
Yeah.
Then again, it's not often Lukash and I sit near each other in the office. He was just borrowing Joe's desk the other day. Shout out to our colleague Joe, who's also a Huawei P20 Pro user, and could also maybe do with a Macadile case.
Yeah, you should get a chain supply of these so everybody can get them.
Yes. Coming up on a website near you, the Tech Travel Geeks Macadile store. Funnily enough, our content... our content management system is already set up for us opening a store. So, as well as branching out into philosophy podcasts, and what was the other one we came up with today?
Where you can do about the new cases. So you've got your own case shop.
Yeah, case shop. But no, there's another version of the podcast we're about to branch out onto.
Oh, the political shenanigans.
Shenanigans, yes. Political Shenanigans podcast, philosophy podcast, Tech Travel Geeks podcast, and
merch store.
Mockadile merchandising store. So plenty of runway for differentiation and pivoting in the Tech Travel Geeks world.
Coming soon.
Yes, coming very soon to a website near you. So, I think we've covered most things. This is the big mobile news of the week. Chris, tell people where they can follow you on the internet.
Well, most places on the internet is called @Rockwell7. Don't ask me why I'm called Rockwell7. It goes back to the original modems. There was a chipset called a Rockwell, and some had names, numbers, and whatever. So I just chose Rockwell7. I've been kept it ever since. That sounds silly, but that's the true story.
So you're Rockwell7 on most websites and social media sites.
Yeah, Instagram.
And the site you write for is?
moviesgamesandtech.com. Yes, I know that is a mouthful.
But very interesting and good way to catch up with proper geek news. And Chris is a like many of us, a proper geek.
Semi-geek most of the time. Can't be too much geek in front of my kids. They call me Geek Dad.
Very good. I would take that as a compliment.
I embarrass them so much, and I love it.
Good. That's what dads are for.
Yeah.
Moving on, Lukasz, where can people follow you on the internet?
Mostly, you can find my video edits on Tech Travel Geeks YouTube channel, where I also sometimes add some drone footage, just because I love drones. You're saying?
No, I was just going to say yes. Well done on managing to shoehorn some lovely autumnal drone footage into our Huawei Mate 20 Lite video, which went live this week. If you haven't already seen that, you can see it on the Tech Travel Geeks YouTube channel. And there is also our Huawei Mate 20 Pro unboxing. And hopefully this week we'll also have a new device review coming out on Tech Travel Geeks. But yes, Lukasz, so you're our main video guy at Tech Travel Geeks YouTube channel.
Yeah, you can also find me on Twitter, Suliga, and on Instagram, Lukasz Suliga. Yeah, that's me. How about you?
Good. Well, I'm at Tudoleo on most sites and places. You can read my ramblings on techtravelgeeks.com, and my monotonous, boring voice is on Tech Travel Geeks on our videos on YouTube, on Tech Travel Geeks YouTube channel. You can subscribe to us there on YouTube. You can also subscribe to us on our podcast feeds. Our podcasts are available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Pocket Casts, and wherever else you get good podcasts from. So thanks for watching, everyone, and thank you for listening if you're listening to the audio version.
Matteo, to have a quick one comment. We have some chat on the chat today, and there was a question from one of our users, Jason, who was asking about the case for the Mate 20. Can you do you have any details? Can we share this later?
Sure. What we'll do is we'll just do it now quickly before we wrap up. So the question was the case I have on my
clear case, yes. Because, yeah.
So this is a clear case I got on Amazon. It's an armor case, so it's rubberized at the sides. It has cutout for the camera, but it's a clear case. And that's from Amazon. I will make sure the link is in our YouTube video to this, and you can find one from there.
Also, sorry, just last 1 second. If you're looking on Amazon, be careful because some of them are wrong place. The cameras cutouts are in the wrong places.
Yes, they obviously have different variants of the Mate 20 for different markets. and not to confuse it with the Mate 20 Lite.
Yeah.
So, okay, on that shopping and consumer decision-making note, I think it's time we wrap. Thank you for watching and listening, everyone. Good night from us. Thanks for joining us, Chris.
Bye. Thanks again. Thanks for inviting me.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.